you are like me, or if you think like me, I used to believe that I had to work so hard, pay my taxes, and I didn't want to wait for so long. I wanted results quick, like now, next week, next month, next semester, next year, the next 2 years, and start having a much better life. Cash flow is just like a household without a monthly wage. Imagine that, right? With the Daddy Boss, we talk about creating cash flow. Cash flow is literally money that comes in every single month, every single week, every single day. Depending on how you structure your business, you want to have the largest amount of cash flows and within the most frequent period of time that you can. So I used to binge financial podcasts, and my hope was to find a way to get out of my corporate job and stop working for a boss and slaving myself for these large multinationals and everything else. But all I heard from them was cut your expenses and invest in the index funds or buy stocks and shares and things like that. But reality was none of them actually worked. And they didn't really help me generate enough money or cash flow every month to be able to replace my income. That was a little bit of a trap, and I wanted something different. I needed something that would help me replace my income, and if I wanted to leave the work, which I did, I could just go and I knew the income would come every month. And index and stocks and shares and things like that, unless you invest in the regions of the tens of millions, it's very hard to give you that inflow of cash every month or perhaps every week. So I needed something that was practical, that would work, and it was not easy to find. And you're probably watching this video here, you know somebody or even yourself that are on this situation or have been there before. And that's how I kind of somehow came across a life circumstance, a life situation where I was faced with a challenge. I had my back against the wall and I had to figure out a way to generate income and cash flow, and that was through real estate, which I have shared on another video here. I believe one of my podcasts, I think in the first episode there somewhere, I shared why I went into property and how I went into property and why I do what I do today. But the main point I wanted to share with you here is this. I had the desire to stop working for boss, corporations and things, and I wanted to generate cash flow, but I didn't know how. And I went to these podcasts and listening to every single thing I could grasp, put my hands on, and they were all kind of giving financial advice. And I then realized as well that most of the financial advisors there providing this advice, they were just paid to promote a product, but they didn't really have money themselves, or they didn't have enough themselves. So I then got to learn that financial advisors, most of them, not all of them, with all due respect, I know a lot of them, some of them are very good, but most at the time, they were just promoting financial products from financial companies that would charge a lot of fees in there and never really get the cash flow you needed. But I had to figure out a way, and that's how I eventually had a life circumstance or a life situation which led me to go into property, and then eventually started controlling assets without having to buy it for myself. Or even before buying it, it started to generate cash flow and equity without having to buy it, right? Which is really advanced for most people. I know that it's pretty much a unique way that I have discovered over the years, initially because I had my back against the wall. And what I did after a while was I started sharing that with other fathers just like me, who wanted a good lifestyle for themselves, for their families. They wanted to live in a nice place, they wanted to go on nice holidays, and they didn't want to be tied up to a paycheck or a boss. In most cases, unfortunately, an environment or a boss that they didn't really want to be around much. I have been privileged that I did work with some amazing people, some amazing bosses in the past, but majority, they were not so nice, because corporations, as you know, they're there for profits, and whatever they can squeeze for a larger profit, they will, and that includes people, unfortunately. So I started sharing what I learned with other fathers, and eventually I created what I call the Daddy Boss system, which is just that. It's a system, it's a proven system that I have been using myself for many, many years, and I now share with other fathers, like-minded fathers, It's a proven system to generate cash flow and equity through assets even before you have to buy it, which is pretty advanced. And that's the foundation of Daddy Boss, right? Which is a movement that I'm really, really passionate about. Now, what I wanted to share with you today here, it's mainly about what Daddy Boss is and the difference between what you find in the open market, like I did. I used to do, I used to binge podcasts for financial independence and things. And at the end of the day, I just realized they were all there to kind of like sell me a product, a financial product, whether it was life insurance, which is good to build wealth. I've got a few, but they were all promoting packages and products that will have highest amounts of fees, and therefore the actual profit was not there, but I needed cash flow. And that's why I'm sharing with you today. So why most financial podcasts are the same. And I'll share with you why, because of my own experience. You're probably doing that at this stage. And if you are, good, there's some good value in there. But if you are in a situation where I was before, which I just needed cash flow, I needed an inflow of funds into my bank account every month that I could go and jump out of my corporate job and go and start my own business and do my own thing and start living life on my own terms. I just wanted cash flow today, cash flow next week, cash flow for next month, nothing else, right? And why most financial podcasts are the same. So talking about budgeting, cutting costs, and waiting for 40 years to retire, okay? So it's good advice, but it's not really enough if you want real freedom. And the reason is, if you are like me, or if you think like me, I used to believe that I had to work so hard, pay my taxes, and work for companies to build a career, hoping to have a secured job. And over the years, I came to realize nothing was secured. It was actually super exposed, because the lifestyle was in a certain way, which was good, but then I was reliant on a paycheck every month. And then if I didn't have that paycheck for more than a few months, then life would take a complete bad turn. And I was conditioned to believe that you work so hard, you pay your taxes, and then you go and you pay your pension because you pay a little bit every month, and then you eventually retire. That's how most of us were conditioned, right? Most of the middle class around the world is conditioned this way for a reason. Governments can only tax middle class. Well, mostly middle class, because the poor, there's no money to be taxed, and the wealthy will utilize limited company structures and offshore company structures that money is routed in different ways. So middle class is the chunk where the government gets the money from. And that's the reason why schools condition kids the way they do, because it's a government grid system, right? Work hard, pay your taxes, work for somebody else, and pay your pension. That's how the system is set up. There's a setup there, guys. It's not the way it is for by accident. It's just there because it's a grid to keep people where they are. Now, if you were thinking about savings and paying a little bit of pension every month, here and there and everywhere, and then eventually retire in 40, 50 years time, well, that's well and good. Now, question is, do you know if you're going to stay around for long? Do you know if you're going to stay around for that long to actually enjoy what you're going to have? And if what you're going to have is going to be big enough to give you a nice lifestyle that you don't need to worry about money or finances? Now, the problem with the traditional advice is this, right? It's designed for employees, not for entrepreneurs. Okay, remember this. The traditional advice that you see or see coming from the news or financial podcasts or financial advisors, as they call themselves. I've lost a lot of money with them, by the way. They design for employees, people that are conditioned to stay in the system, literally trapped into that system of working for somebody else and living off post-tax money, okay? Unless you are on the top 5% of the largest CEOs around the world, you're probably not on a bracket where you're gonna have life in your terms if you're working for somebody else, okay? Now, the problem there is it's designed for employees, not entrepreneurs or fathers who wants to build wealth today, okay? Now, think about this. Like me in the past, I didn't want to wait for 30 years, for 40 years to be able to then live life on my own terms, because I didn't even know if I would be around, and nobody knows. We don't know if we're going to be here tomorrow, right? That's reality. And I didn't want to wait for so long. I wanted results quick, like now, next week, next month, next semester, next year, the next 2 years, and start having a much better life. Now, what makes Daddy Boss different? And that's something I'm really passionate about, okay? And we talk about how to create cash flow. Cash flow is king. Cash flow comes first. Cash flow comes before profits. Okay, you probably know a lot of people that have got assets on paper, but they don't have cash flow. Cash flow is just like a household without a monthly wage. Imagine that, right? If you have a household with a family and you have living expenses, you travel, you have cars, you pay a mortgage, you go on holidays, you need to wear clothes, nice clothes, you need to do nice things. You will rely on a wage coming every month, right? In business, cash flow plays the same role. Now, I wanted cash flowing fast, and I didn't want just a little bit. I wanted enough to be able to make the transition, first of all, to replace what I was earning and put me in a financial position where I could scale and grow, right? And that's one of the reasons why I created Adiboss, is to share with a wider audience, because my day only has 24 hours a day. So if you have more than 24 hours, please drop me a message somewhere and let me know where you get them from, because I'd like to buy some, right? But my day only has 24 hours, just like yours, just like everybody else here. Now, with the Daddy Boss, we talk about creating cash flow. Cash flow is literally money that comes in every single month, every single week, every single day. Depending on how you structure your business, you want to have the largest amounts of cash flows and within the most frequent period of time that you can, because that's nicer, right? So the cash flow comes in, and that's what we do at Daddy Boss. Literally sharing ideas and principles on how to generate cash flow from assets even before you have to buy them. That's great. If you have, let's say, 500,000, 1 million, 2 million liquid cash to go and start buying something, that's great. That's good for you. But still, I would strongly suggest you can take the same amount of money, whether it's 100,000, 200,000, 500,000, 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, and you can leverage those funds to control a bunch more of assets instead of buying them, and still getting the cash flow and building the equity as if you had bought them, right? That's pretty cool. Now, that's what Daddy Boss does. It's about me sharing my journey, my vision, the strategies, what works, what didn't work, and how things can be worked out better, how the rental income can be double, triple to what most people can achieve out there, and the equities there as well. And ultimately, it's to help you design a life in your own terms, not living by your boss's design, not by your neighbors, your relatives, your group of people that you surround yourself with, which is, if you've got to stop and think about this, they are about the same type of, they live about the same kind of lifestyle. The reason is because we are usually attracted by similarities, okay? And the similarities of our results coming from the similarities of our thinking. This is really important. The similarities of our results come from the similarities of our thinking. So we surround ourselves with people that think very similar to us. And until we are aware of how to think differently, we are going to continue thinking the same ways. And therefore, we're going to be attracted, or we're going to attract to people that think in the same ways, or very similar ways. And therefore, what's going to happen? The results are going to be very similar. That's why people live in certain neighborhoods. That's why some families rely on government's welfare over generations and generations, because that's their belief system. That's what they were conditioned to do. That's what they were conditioned to believe. That's why families who run businesses, their kids grow in an environment where they think about business creation, about creating value to the world. So they are rewarded financially through the value they create and how many lives they impact. It's all about conditioning. I came from an environment, I was conditioned by the environment. You came from the environment, you were conditioned by the environment. I made a decision from a very young age that I did not want to live my life based on the conditions of the environment in terms of finances and everything else. And I went and I was determined and I was committed to seek guidance and figure out a way to learn a different way of thinking. And I'm always very grateful for my best mentor ever, the late Bob Proctor, whom I have so much appreciation for. And because he taught me the power of the mind, how to shift the way I think, so my results change. okay? But remember that, right? So that's what Daddy Boss is there. That's why Daddy Boss is different. It's because I share a philosophy. I share I'm not sure if philosophy is the right word here, but I share a principle, a methodology, a belief system, a framework, a process that works. And it's a process that I have applied, it works, and I now help other fathers to generate cash flow and equity without even having to buy assets. So they can leverage their own funds. And when the funds are needed, they can even go and tap into somebody else's funds, because you don't want to be using your own funds to do property deals either, right? Rule number one, always use investors' funds. I set up companies, I use private investors' funds, I do property deals, private investors' funds, whatever there is, raise capital. That's what we all do. So we kind of raising capital between a lot of people within a group. Now, what you will learn here in terms of the Daddy Boss podcast, which is a very different podcast in comparison to the traditional financial podcast you're going to see out there. And by all means, this is not a financial podcast, right? I'm not legally allowed to give financial advice. I can only share my own knowledge and experience. I have no interest in becoming anything of the likes, like people call themselves the financial independent advisors, which I have lost a lot of money with, and I have got my own beliefs and thoughts about them. But with all due respect, I'm sure there's some good guys out there, right? So what you learn here is literally how to control real estate today, but then only buy it in the future. And start earning cash flow from day one, not in 6 months' time, not in 10 months' time, not in 12 months' time, literally straight away or within a matter of a couple of weeks, right? And then break these hidden barriers that we all have in our minds about what's possible, what's not possible. Okay, that's one of the key things there, and literally help you break the hidden money patterns that you have built over the years from childhood. I had them. You have them. People in your environment have them. Everybody on this planet have their own mental barriers, their own mental patterns about money, about wealth, about good relationships, about creating businesses and things like that. So that's what Daddy Boss is here, is to help you identify where those barriers are, why they are there, and then share some strategies and techniques on how to overcome them, how to create a better future for yourself and your family. But also help you with mindset blockages that might be on the way, so you can too, just like most of us do here now, especially in the group, go out there, start generating cash flow and equity from properties without having to have large loans or get bank loans, okay? Really, really, really amazing. And why this matters for fathers. The key thing I share on the Daddy Boss is this. It's a way of thinking. Daddy Boss is a movement that I created to help people understand that by changing the way they think, to help fathers understand that by changing the way they think, the results will change because the actions will change. So we change the way we think, we change the way we feel, we change our actions, and therefore the results will change. So that's the creative process. But we're not here to just dive in into that. But what it matters the most, it's not just to build wealth, right? It's about changing the way you think, which for me is the most amazing thing to be doing, because if I can help fathers change the way they think, they're going to impact the lives of their kids and their future generations. Just like me, I grew up in an environment, was conditioned by the environment. Just like you grew up in an environment, you were conditioned by the environment. What you saw, what you heard, what you smelled, what you touched. And that's how it happens for all of us. So my mission is to help fathers to understand or to discover a new way of thinking, so their way of acting will change, so the results will change. But also the main outcome I'm seeking through this movement is this: by helping fathers achieving more and become more, the environment will change. And just like we are conditioned from childhood, the kids are also being conditioned from childhood. So if I can help fathers to change the results in the environment, I'm going to impact the lives of kids. And that's the main thing for me. So if I help fathers to think differently, to act differently, to get better results and take full control of their lives, whether it's financial, health, mental health, physical health, relationships, or whatever, the kids are going to grow in an environment with a better conditioning. And that's the main outcome for me. It's not about money. It's not about making profits alone. It's not about creating programs that people are going to come and be part of. It's about creating a movement. And the reason I created that movement is simply because I did not have the solution when I needed it the most. And I have started this movement last year, and it works really, really well. I'm super excited. We do some events, we do some meetings and events and a few things, and I'm super excited. And I'm here to help fathers just like you. If you're a father watching these, or if you're a father to be, or if you know a father somewhere, please do share this video here, because it's to empower fathers to have full control of their lives, become more, achieve more, and of course, ultimately become their own daddy boss. So their kids can grow in an environment where they're going to be conditioned about prosperity, they're going to be conditioned about possibilities, about good prospects, they're going to be conditioned about good things, about prosperity, about abundance, not limitation, just like I did from a childhood. Okay, I break that cycle because I wanted to, but most people walk on this planet today, they will walk throughout their whole lives in exactly the same way because they're not aware of what is inside our mind. So we have the subconscious mind, which is where all our program is stored. Sorry, and on there is literally the drivers is sat on that driver's seat. We don't see it. Sometimes we don't even know it's there. But there's a drive on the driver's seat, and that's called paradigm. It's our programming from childhood, right? It's not the logical mind, it's the emotional mind. And that's one of the main reasons I created Adipose. And I invite you to be part of the community. I invite you to be part of the group. I invite you to be part of the movement. If you are a father today watching these, amazing, come and join us. If you are a father to be, amazing, come and join us too. Or if you're not a father, perhaps you are a wife of somebody who is a father, or you are a sister or a cousin of someone who is a father or will be a father one day, please do share this video. Let's spread the good, let's spread the word, and that's the way I want to impact the lives of kids. That's the way I found, that's the vehicle I found to impact the life of kids. So I'll leave you with that, and one of the things I wanted to share with you as well is this: challenge the status quo. Always challenge the status quo. Always challenge why things are done the way they are. Always challenge why things are done the way they are. How can I make it better? Because there's a way to do it. I generate cash flow and equity from assets even before buying them. Despite the belief I had from childhood that I had to save a lot of money, work hard for corporations, I almost killed myself, literally, almost killed myself, to then figure out a way that was completely different from my conditioning from childhood.